In today's video, you'll find a tree that lures you to seek shelter during the rain, only to rain down a poisonous substance upon you, and as for the stinging nettle, it assures you of 24 hours of agony. Lastly, you'll learn to be careful around trees like the Bunyan pine. The Dragon Blood Tree. The Dragon Blood Tree is found in the rugged mountains regions of Socotra. This unique tree has an unusual shape like an umbrella and adapts to arid conditions and low amounts of soil on the island. It's also called the Dragon Blood Tree because it releases a blood-like sap called emzola by islanders. The sap not only has medicinal values, but they also use the wood as firewood. Despite the benefit of the dragon blood, though, scientists do have concerns about their safety. When this blood was introduced to some animals, it increased in bleeding. This may be the case with humans as well. Therefore, they warn that the dragon blood from this plant may have hidden harms. This tree can grow up to 30 feet tall and live for about 600 years. The canopy provides shades for people who desperately need protection from the scorching sun. Researchers fear that this tree is gradually becoming extinct as its numbers are reducing at an alarming rate. Global warming and changing weather patterns in the area have gradually forced this tree to decline in the wild. Also, we have cyclones to blame for it, as they frequently rip up the tree. Gympie Gympie, or the Gympie Gympie. The nettle family consists of stinging plants, but none are as aggressive as the Gympie Gympie. It is one of the 6 stinging trees native to Australia and Indonesia. This plant is one of the most dangerous in the world. It has stinging leaves that trigger an allergic reaction in its victims. Sometimes the reaction is simply so intense that you can go into anaphylactic shock. The pain is also excruciating and lasts for many months. Some victims of this tree compare the pain to being burned by acid, squashed by giant hands, or even electrocuted. Many people say that the pains flare up for many years as well. There are also reports of horses going mad with pain and jumping off of a cliff to their deaths after being stung. Foresters who work around the tree must wear thick protective clothing and respirators. They must also be armed with antihistamine pills in case of emergencies. Dictamnus albus. With its pink flowers and herbaceous growth, the Dictamnus albus is already a great eye-catcher. But when the plant shows its dangerous potential, many do not believe their eyes. In fact, in summer, the plant often surrounds itself with small blue flames that run up the pinnacle of the plant and have also earned the plant the name the burning bush. The reason for this is the highly flammable liquid isoprene, which is secreted by the plant. The plant isn't harmed by this substance, but it can be dangerous for humans. The plant secretes phototoxic substances that sensitize human skin to sunlight. Similar to giant hogweed, contact with the plant and subsequent sunshine can cause severe burns, some of which require very lengthy healing processes. Manchineel. The Manchineel is an evergreen tree native to the Caribbean, Florida, and Central and Southern America. Its fruits resemble an apple. Little wonder it's also called the beach apple. The plant is enriched with lots of toxins harmful to the body. Eating their fruits causes blisters to the mouth and esophagus. The milky sap on the bark and leaves contains an irritating chemical called phorbol, which results in a strong allergic reaction. When rain falls on the tree, it can collect phorbol and burn the person standing underneath it. Even touching the tree can cause skin blisters as well. Locals often use the sap to poison their arrows to make victory in battle easier. It's also suspected that Juan Ponce de Leon died from a similar weapon during his trip to Florida. Poison ivy. Residents of North America know the dangers of poison ivy and avoid it at all costs. It's famously known as the leaves of 3, and its closest relatives are poison sumac and poison oak. All of its relatives contain a chemical known as urushiol. When a victim touches it, all parts of the plant trigger severe itchy and painful skin inflammation. This condition is frightening and nearly life-threatening as it persists in tools, shoes, animals, or clothing that have contact with the plants. Stumble upon this plant while hiking in the forest, and ensure to remove your clothes in a way that it doesn't touch your skin. After removing the clothes, wash them immediately so that no one touches them. The rash can last from less than 1 week to more than 3 weeks. However, it doesn't require medical attention as it heals by itself. Atropa belladonna. How close healing and poison are to each other is impressively demonstrated by the belladonna flower. As its Latin name, belladonna, or beautiful lady, suggests, the plant was used in ancient times as a beauty treatment for its pupil-enlarging effect, and was also used to some extent as a medicinal plant. Even today, atropine, the active ingredient in belladonna, is an important component of various medicines. However, if the plant is eaten without precaution, as few as 10 to 12 berries can be fatal for an adult. The symptoms of poisoning range from dry mouth and visual disturbances to hallucinations, palpitations, or respiratory arrest. Hogweed. There are two species of hogweed, namely the giant and common hogweed. This plant is native to Europe but was introduced to parts of the US. The sap and the leaves of this wildflower contain chemicals called phytochimerins, therefore it's not advisable to get too close to them. Contact with them causes phytophotodermatitis, a condition where the skin suffers several blisters if exposed to sunlight. Blindness may also occur if the sap enters the eyes. Given that the hogweed is similar to the infamous water hemlocks, it's best to avoid tall, carrot-looking plants with white flower clusters. Locals across many British cities are concerned about their safety around this plant as they have found it in their gardens. They fear that their kids might encounter them without knowing the dangers of handling them. Any part of the body comes in contact with the sap, wash with water and soap and seek medical attention immediately. The coconut. Of all the trees on Earth, the coconut is one of the least you'd expect to see in this video. This is because you touch and hang around coconut trees and don't see anything wrong and probably are eating some candy with some coconut flavoring in it. You can break the fruit, drink the water, and eat the fruit. However, our love and dependence on the fruit have cost many people their lives. On more than one occasion, this 3-pound or more fruit has fallen on the heads of unsuspecting victims and does a lot of damage to the brain. One way to stay safe from coconut trees is by not standing under them whenever you need a place to cool off. The danger of falling is heightened by the length of the tree and the unpredictable time of falling. There are many ways to identify a coconut that may soon fall, but the question is how many of us pay attention to that detail. There have been multiple tragic deaths, both documented and undocumented ones, and most fatalities occur in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Malaysia, and New Guinea. The death occurs from the blunt force trauma done to the skull. Strychnine tree. You might have been forced to believe that the strychnine was a chemical formulated in the lab. No, it's actually produced naturally by a tree in the forest. This tree species is native to Southeast Asia and India and has become notorious over the years. It's the main source of the deadly poison called strychnine, with a history of usage on animals considered pests. The ordinary-looking branches have thick leaves that carry lots of dark, dollar-like seeds that houses that strychnine poison. Their seeds are expensive and deadly when ingested. Dizziness, eye pain, paralysis, muscle cramping, and a heavy tongue are common symptoms victims suffer. One wonders why anyone would deliberately ingest a plant as dangerous as this one, though. Despite its toxicity, the plant is useful in medical applications and may be used to treat cancer in the future. The Bunya pine. If you encounter the Bunya pine in the wild, take it that you've been beaten to death by a chicken feather. They say that this innocent-looking tree is up to a lot, and it's so deadly that barricades are created in some places where the tree is located to ensure that no one is crushed to death by the 22-pound pine cone from hell. Growing up to 148 feet tall, the Bunya pine is defined by its thick bark, gigantic pine cones, and large pine needles that pose a lethal threat and can cause a catastrophic injury to anyone who doesn't know the best way to avoid them. Unlike broken branches that may fall due to unforeseen circumstances, Bunya pines fall from the tree during reproduction. When they do, anyone standing underneath is begging to have their head crushed. In San Francisco, a man was hit by a giant falling cone from this tree. This resulted in a severe head injury that forced him to file a lawsuit for brain damage. The Bunya pine is a living fossil that's been traced to prehistoric times. Since animals don't transport their cones, they fall straight to the ground in the forest trees, where they reproduce. See you all next time!